Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scott McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
Values they start from the top and work their way down.
Okay.
Values, it's almost like sending in a motivational speaker to get your employees riled up for sales to make their goals this week.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting the wrong way. That's starting from the bottom and hoping it works its way up.
Hey, everybody, it's Scott. It's Wednesday, and it's the Pitchwerks podcast. Thanks for tuning in. So, I got a guy. He's on the phone. His name is Siloh Moses, a consultant in Las Vegas, Nevada. His thing is to follow small and medium business owners around and actually help them write a plan, make their business socially impactful. It's more and more important today and every passing day because this is what the workforce wants. He's going to tell you all about that. But before we jump in, I've got to ask you to rate and review this fine program. Jump into iTunes, give us a star rating, give us a review. Do that for me. High fives, all the usual stuff. Let's talk to Siloh. Let's find out what's going on out there. Jumping in with Siloh Moses. Don't make the mistake of calling him Shiloh. Siloh, how are you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
How many times have you been called Shiloh? I'm just curious.
A gazillion times.
A gazillion times. See, like, if you want to get super technical, I'm Scott with one T, right? And I don't know, like 15 years ago, I just stopped caring, right? It's just like, look, whatever, man. You know what? The bank still cashes those checks. It's fine, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's one of the things too. That kind of like when the first email exchange that we had with each other, and there was only one T on the end of your name. Yep. I immediately thought it was a typo. I was like, oh, he didn't add the other T.
Yeah, whatever, Shiloh. Anyway. So I'm really glad to have you on the show this week. You have a very interesting resume. You know some really interesting people, and the story by which you got there, I think people will want to hear that story, but I also think that it's very easy to put you into a little box. And I'm going to try to avoid doing that because I think this interview is probably, the little box interview has probably been done 500 times, right? You are the founder of We Win 360 Business Consulting for heart-centered CEOs. Unpack that part for me so that everybody is on the same page as you.
Yeah, I would love to. So heart-centered CEOs, from my experience, are people who are passionate about more than just creating tons of profit.
Yeah.
So these are CEOs who have a high passion for community. These are CEOs and founders who are interested in investing in people, and who are interested in seeing the world be left in a better condition than the way they found it because they were here, they made an impact in it. And they also have a business mind to make profits while doing so.
Right.
So those are your heart-centered CEOs.
You're talking about a leader that is not necessarily cutthroat interested in shareholder value at the peril of everything else. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
I hear the trepidation in your voice where you're sitting there going like, am I running somebody up against their fiduciary responsibility, which is what it sounds like you probably get this criticism, yes?
Yes, absolutely. So, you have that business model where, it's how business has been ran since the very beginning of capitalism. It is, how much can we create as far as profits are concerned to benefit our shareholders, right? It's how much can we do or take from the world to give to our shareholders. And your heart-centered CEOs, which are generally CEOs who own businesses that give rather than take, their mission is a little bit different. Their mission is how much can we give away and versus how much can we take and how much can we give away while still making a profit. Now, shareholder profit obviously is still highly important to those who are heart-centered CEOs and founders, but
Right.
the bigger mission is impact. That's the bigger cause. That's the bigger vision, right? So when you have a business that's led by a mission to make an impact in a community or environment, your shareholders are a lot different than the other shareholders that generally jump on just for profit, just for money.
Yeah.
These shareholders that come onto your business come on because they're completely aligned with your vision and mission and also believe in what you believe. Do
They
want
know
to make
they
money?
know what they invested in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do they want to make money? Of course. But to them, they have a calling that's a lot higher on their priority scale to make an impact versus just completely do it just to make money.
I still have to laugh about, like, I could hear how many times you've gotten that question, right? That fiduciary responsibility question. Like, I could hear the hesitation where you're like,
Yeah,
Scott, don't throw me under the bus. We only just started the interview.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a great question and it needs to be asked.
Well,
you know?
I mean, again, we have a high degree of familiarity with it where we make the show here. There are a lot of companies over here that think the way that you're describing, right? But I don't think necessarily everybody understands it the way you understand it, because you're coming at it from a perspective of someone who is aware of the value of impact, right? So, you know, I have to get the other part, and this is the little box part, right? At one point in your trajectory, you were in fact homeless. What is it that the rest of us don't understand?
I have no other. It's a really great question, but the only answer I can come up with is that it's simple. I think we like to overcomplicate it. I think we like to say to ourselves, as a founder, business owner, that I can either have one or the other, that I can't have both, right? And what makes it simple is that you can.
Right.
It's just a different way of looking at it, right? Different questions to ask yourself, you know? And once you figure out those answers, it becomes just so simple.
Just do something is, I guess, what you're driving at. Like, don't sit around and overthink it. Just go do something.
So part of what I do is not just consulting entrepreneurs and founders who want to create a business hub that stands for social value and creates profit simultaneously that feels good. But, you know, I also have a social give to my cause and what I do outside of that. So I started an organization, a volunteer organization that gives back and pays it forward. And we went from a very, very tiny, very small organization where it was literally just myself and a single pot of spaghetti that went out to the homeless corridor and served 30 people off that single pot of spaghetti.
You're talking about serving hope.
Yes.
Or so, do you include the LV when you the Las Vegas, like, I've only read about it, so I apologize if I'm not calling it by its proper name.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's Serving Hope LV for Las Vegas. And, you know, when we grew from that single pot of spaghetti, fast forward 4.5 years now, never missing a week to serve, never taking a day off from serving, you know, going from a single pot of spaghetti to serve 30 people and just myself to now an organization that just last year alone had 5,000 people come down and give back with us, and a community that has now served over 97,000 meals, all for free.
When you took that first pot out and you fed the first people, right? What exactly did you put into that planning and execution?
I didn't plan. I didn't look for excuses why not to do it today. I made a decision and then I went and did it. Here's what I mean by that. And here's something most people don't know. That very first pot of spaghetti that I went and served, and this was after I'd gotten back on my feet, I've got a roof over my head, I've got a little bit of food in the fridge, and the comfort of knowing I've got 4 walls and a roof, right? And a door that I can lock and unlock at any time. This is me getting back on my feet from being homeless myself.
Right.
The story most people don't know behind the first pot of spaghetti was it was a Monday when I went to go serve, and literally that pot of spaghetti was generally was not generally, but was the only thing I had to eat for the week. So because I got paid on Friday,
Right.
and the question that came to my mind was, do I cook up this box of spaghetti and ration it out for the week so I don't starve until I get paid Friday?
Right.
Or do I seize the opportunity to cook up this box of spaghetti, go down and serve 30 people who probably haven't eaten in 6 days, and then make an impact and then worry about myself after? The decision was very easy, because for me, I knew what it was like to have to look for food in a dumpster. I'm paying tribute to where I just came from.
Yeah.
It was my way of giving back to where I just came from. That pot of spaghetti didn't just serve 30 people, but it served me as well. Because not in the physical form where I ate from it, but kind of like an emotional place, mental place, where like it was just like, now I'm okay.
I'm jumping off now into your consulting space, right? Because now you're somewhere. Let's assume it's the most boring place ever. Let's assume that there's like a trade show for consultants of various stripes, right? And it's like there's an HR consultant and there's an insurance consultant and there's whatever, right? And there's Siloh. And you're like, I'm the person who wants to help you make impact, to understand it, to communicate it to your people, all the different ways that, this becomes part of a business, right? Yeah. I have to believe the first obstacle you have to overcome is explaining to a business what they get by working with you.
Absolutely.
And now you've got to solve the problem. Like, can I close somebody who doesn't feel it already? And should I just give up?
Absolutely. And there's a billion ways that we can attack that question.
Yeah.
Depending on, who's standing in front of you. Now, if I have someone in front of me that's more of like an analytical person, well, that's an easy conversation.
Okay.
Because then we just talk about how their bottom line is impacted if they don't add some kind of social cause or social impact to their business model.
Tell me
about what they're losing, right? So the statistics show that, the one thing that most businesses really attacks their bottom line outside of their product is turnover.
Yes.
Human capacity turnover, right? You spend all of this money to recruit, to train, to hire,
onboarding.
To train. Right, exactly.
We bought that guy a cup and some logo T-shirts, and he just bugged out. I can't believe it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you spend all this money up front, especially, and if you're hiring a recruiting company, you're spending even more because now they're going out and finding that person. Then you have to pay the recruiting company for finding that person. But excluding the recruiting company, just to find that person, again, get them in the office, hire someone to get them in the office, hire someone to interview them, to train them, you're upwards of $100,000 you've already invested in this one soul, hoping that person is going to turn that over to $300,000 in return with them being there with you for a year, just to see that they leave 90 days later, 6 months later.
Yeah, it's not the NFL. They don't have to play out their contract.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so you grab onto the financial argument.
Right, and then we sit down and we say, and then we show them the numbers of what it looks like when you're a business that has a strong social cause ingrained in the employees' minds into the overall business about how longer they stay at the business, how much more productive they are. These are generally people, when they know they work for a business that stands for something, they take less days off, they call out less, they're more productive at their desks, right? And this all increases the bottom line value, all by believing in something much bigger than profit.
So you can take the Grinch and close the Grinch based on the fact that at the end of the day, a business is built of people, and you have, I assume, like background studies and whatnot that verify that you can extend, employee satisfaction and whatnot, which reduces your overall HR spend. So who is it?
Exactly.
Who is it that doesn't buy in then? Let's ask that question.
That's a really good question too. From my experience, it's generally people who are 40 and over.
Ouch, man.
you were taught as you were growing up by your parents to go to school, get a good education, find a great job, work there for 60, 70 years, retire with a nice gold watch.
Right.
Now, for Generation Y and Generation Z, even a little bit of Generation X, they started to kind of take their own stand in their own lives and go, wait, mom, dad, just because that's what you believed when you were growing up doesn't mean I have to believe it. And
right.
They started looking at, how can I stand in my values, and how can I also have success without having to work for the same business for 70 years and look for that gold watch and go to school. And the business owners who are baby boomers who grew up thinking that was what they had to do. Well, at this time, they were considered rebels, right? They're like, oh my gosh, you want to run your own business? That's insane.
Yeah, there wasn't much infrastructure for those folks, right? We had a couple of the older lions on the show, over the last couple of years where, they say like, yeah, there was no happy hour for entrepreneurs. It was you in like a desk that you pushed into your garage and you just took a beating.
Exactly. From everybody. And, and with that mindset of growing up and being a rebel as a baby boomer and becoming successful, their mindset in business today is a lot different than the mindset of anyone who's under 40. So over 40, their mindset was, I started my business to create a product, to make great profit, and then maybe I'll give back to charity once I'm successful.
Well, so technically I'm only 41, so I'm still in that Xer band, but I'm going to take up the mantle of your sort of like, less likely client, right? I'm going to try to defend their position, right? And their position is, from what I've been told, because I've had this conversation a few times, that they want to make a lot of money and then use that money for their pet projects. So they want to position it as they just have a different way to get to the same goal. So they want to make a large check and then put it into the collection plate at their church, or take a big check and send a check to the ACLU, right? Like whatever their thing is. They're like, right. Well, I can influence things better if I'm doing it from a position of power.
Yeah.
But you're still looking at it as the employees are a material part of this conversation.
And they are.
Yeah.
And if we went back to the founders, you're absolutely right. Founders, and we'll just say baby boomers, that was the mentality. It's, we go against the grain. We're called rebels. They beat us up for the entire time we've been alive. But guess what? We started a business. We created a product. We threw it out in the marketplace. It sold really well. We became really successful. Now we have money, power. Now we want to distribute that money and power.
Right.
Those who are younger, and what you're starting to see now starting to come up, is budding entrepreneurs who are reverse engineering that. They're saying, I see a huge problem in the world. I want to make an impact in that world, and I want to do it through business.
Right. And get my whole team involved, because the manpower piece of it actually does offer interesting opportunity.
Everyone else is starting to age out, and you have millennials now that are in the marketplace. And the challenge that you see with founders who are older than they are is they want to talk profit, returns, results. The millennial who works for you in the office is going, you're not speaking my language. What they do know is that they want to work somewhere where they feel like they're a part of something. They want to work somewhere where they feel like they belong, right? And we're just getting down to brass tacks of basic human needs. And they want to be able to do this and believe in the company that they work for.
I will agree with that, and I will say it perfectly couples with everything else they do, right? We talk about this on the show all the time, about how the decisions you make are really reflections of your identity. So would a person like me wear that shirt? Would a person like me listen to that show? Would a person like me subscribe to that magazine.
Exactly. Right. And yeah, and what they want to do is they want to know that the person in their office, in their cubicle, sitting to the left and to the right of them, is on the same page as they are, is aligned with those values, or aligned with their characteristics. Well, not characteristics, but aligned with their values. And they want to know that the company they work for is aligned with those values too. See, the dynamic used to be, I'm a big company, I'm hiring, you should come work for me because I said so.
Well,
today,
there were a lot of benefits.
Yes, and that those benefits is what they use to draw people in. Today, companies are turning that conversation around and going, you, Mr. Potential new recruit, what is it that you believe in? What is it that you want to achieve in the world? What's the impact that you want to make? Great, because that's the same impact we want to make. You belong with us.
It's an easier way to determine whether or not you belong. Interesting.
Yeah. And it creates great company culture and goes right back down to the bottom line again with turnover and stuff like that. You create that kind of culture in your business. You have employees that stay around for 20, 30 years and don't need a gold watch. That's, Winco has done this to be Winco Foods.
Mm-hmm.
They have, their model is that every employee that works there owns a piece of the company.
Yes. Gray Bar does this too, which is another good example.
Exactly. And what does this do? This speaks to values. It feels like we believe that you're not just a cog in the wheel, Mr. Employee. We believe you're actually part of the bigger vision of the business, and we want you part of it. The values they start from the top and work their way down.
Okay.
Values, it's almost like sending in a motivational speaker to get your employees riled up for sales to make their goals this week.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting the wrong way. That's starting from the bottom and hoping it works its way up, right? That's something that's not personable or personal. That's something that doesn't feel authentic or genuine. When it feels authentic and genuine is when it comes from the CEO, the founder himself, and says, these are our values. This is what we stand for. This is what makes us different in the world. And this is why you are here. And when those values start to make their way down to your customer service, your sales reps, whoever it might be, your frontline employees, and they take it and they make it their own, and it's engraved in their everyday workplace environment.
Yeah,
that's when you build sustainable not only revenue but impact. And that's where you create that environment where your employees work there for 30 years and don't expect a gold watch at the end of it. We get in there and I spend literally 3 days. If I have to travel, I'll travel. I'll spend 3 days with the founder just shadowing him. And I'll just be like a fly on the wall. I won't say anything. And during those 3 days, I'm taking notes. And during those 3 days, I'm looking for, what does this CEO stand for? What does this founder believe in? And once I figure that out, then we sit down and we have a conversation, which is generally around 45 minutes. And I let him bring those values out of himself. So I don't necessarily sit down with him and go, this is what I've discovered. This is who you are. And this is what you believe. I kind of build the conversation around him discovering it for himself so that when we get to where I knew he was going to go anyway, by observing him, that he owns it, it's his, and now it comes to the forefront, and it's now conscious in all of his decisions that he makes. So here's an example. So I have a client that I work with, and we sat down. I shadowed him for 3 days. Came back. We had a 45-minute conversation that turned into an hour and a half. And I literally asked him. I said, "Hey, listen, you're very successful. Obviously, you've got a lot of accomplishments. You've got everything that the world says you are successful, that deems you to be successful. You've got great employees. You got a great business model. You got a great product, and you're making a lot of money. And you also give back to charity. That's great." I said, "Can we have a conversation about charity?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "Okay, so let's go back to 3 years ago. What charity did you give to?" And he said, "Well, I gave to this," or I'm not going to say their name, but he said, "I gave to this charity that, deals with children who are born of single parents, et cetera."
Okay.
Said, okay. Who did you give last year, 2 years ago, or last year? And he goes, "Yeah, I gave last year." I said, "Okay, who did you give to last year?" And he said, "Well, we had a really banner year. We gave around $150,000 to this, shelter, homeless shelter. Okay, great, fantastic. Now, you're going to have another banner year this year? He goes, yeah. I go, now, who are you plan on giving to this year? He said, oh, this year I'm going to give to this organization that deals with disabilities, children with disabilities. I go, okay, great. Now, in the back of my mind, none of that made any sense. And I'm sure he felt good.
Okay.
Because he had banner years. He was giving revenue away to local nonprofits that do good. I'm sure he felt like, he was doing something amazing, which he was. I'm not going to take away from that. But where we're going is that there's a better way of doing things. Now, this is a guy I have to tell you. I have to set it up this way. He owns a mortgage company. He writes loans, right? He writes massive loans for huge developments. And his job, essentially, all day long, is to know numbers and know his contracts.
Yeah.
Which means he looks at a lot of numbers and he reads a lot of words on paper all day long. So as we were talking, we got to a place in our conversation that was really, really soft and really warm and really, really genuine. And he opened up to me and he said, I'm going to tell you something that I never tell anyone. And I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared. Let's do it. He says, do you know I never graduated 8th grade?
Wow.
I said, you never graduated 8th grade? He said, no. Here's a guy who owns a business, 25 employees. A banner month for him is $3 million a month.
Yep.
And he never graduated 8th grade. He said, that's not the big bomb, though. I'm going to tell you, this is what I really wanted to tell you. Not only did I not graduate the 8th grade, but I can't read.
Jeez.
The guy is illiterate. He owns a mortgage company where he looks at numbers and words on paper all day long, and those words are tied to millions of dollars, and he can't read. So where we bring this conversation full circle is here. After this hour and a half conversation, we finally got to his values. We finally got to the core of who he is as a human being, as a dad, as a business owner, as someone who wants to do good in the community, which is why he gives in the first place to local charities. We got to a place where I got honest with him and I said, I think we have a better way of doing things, a better way for you to make an impact, a better way for you to raise awareness for your brand, a better way for you to create community within your business and outside of your business, a way to attract new customers, keep new customers, a way to grow your growth and grow your impact. And he said, what is that? I said, tomorrow we're going to go down to a local charity that I know that deals with adult literacy. And you're going to go down there and you're going to become a mentor. You're going
Absolutely.
You're going to speak to these guys. You're going to go down there and you're going to sit in their English classes with them as they're learning English, learning how to write, learning how to put sentences together. You're going to sit right next to them. Not only are you going to mentor them, but you're going to sit in their classes. You're going to walk their steps, and you're going to sit side by side with them. And that's exactly what we did. This was a year ago. Today, he's on the board of that nonprofit.
And that's an incredible story. I have to wonder on the impact side, right? I mean, so now he's charged up and his employees feel as though they're part of a larger cause, right?
Exactly. And they know his story, which makes them stand behind him even stronger. His employees, I can say hands down, will never leave him. And, it's all part, I have a very specific process and methods that I put in place to be able to get to that point, to be able to get to the point of a conversation where a guy who tells me he can't read, but owns a business that does $3 million a month, right, can get to.
Yeah, that is
it's
cool.
a very, very specific process, and it's very genuine. I'm not doing it to be malicious. I'm doing it to benefit them, to benefit their employees, to benefit their business, to benefit their bottom line. Because to me, let's just, for example, with him, before he and I sat down, his business was lucky to do over $1 million a year. I'm sorry, $1 million a month.
Oh, okay.
After meeting with him, he's now easily doing $3 million a month. That's if he sleeps in noon every day, right? So, but there's a process that's involved to get you there when you meet with me, and I spend 3 days with you, and then we spend 45 minutes having deep conversations, and then we take that conversation and we give it breath, and we make it a living thing, and then we instill that living thing into your business, into your marketing, into your messaging, into how you approach new customers, how you approach your old customers, how do you give that to your employees and let them own it.
All right, we got to wrap this up. I want a couple things from you before we do it.
Sure.
The first one is a general question. I'd like to know if people are hearing this right now and they are motivated to just go have an impact, can you give them a couple things that they could just do today to go have an impact?
Sure. So I'll actually give you part of my secret sauce. This is something that people can do at home. It's very easy and does require a little bit of work on their end, but again, very easy to do, something you could do at home. And you can actually even contact me to make sure you did the exercise right. The exercise, I like to call it my T-frame exercise. So the T-frame exercise is essentially an exercise that gets us to a point in our conversation, inner dialogue with ourselves to figure it out what it is that we stand for. So when we talk about the T-frame exercise, it's a very simple exercise. You take out a sheet of paper, clean sheet of paper, and all you do is you draw a big capital T down the center of that piece of paper. Now, on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side are going to be two different quadrants of that T. On the left-hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to write down one-word sentences of everything that we cannot stand.
Okay.
This is everything that leaves a bad taste in our mouth that when we think of it, it even drums up the emotions of anger. So we want to get really specific as to what we can't stand. So some people might say, I can't stand abuse on women. Why? Because my mom was abused when I was 6. My dad used to beat her, and I watched every fight. We don't want to make it too massive.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to get to what are the things that I do not stand for.
Got it.
And that's going to be on the left-hand side of our quadrant, left-hand side of the T-frame exercise. Now, I guess what we're going to do on the right-hand side.
I'm going to take a stab at this. I'm going to say things that I know that I do stand for.
Correct. So you're going to write down everything that you do stand for. And this exercise is so simple. To realize what you do stand for, all you have to do is look left of your T and write down the opposite of that.
So we're going to cheat on our homework after the homework was assigned. Just like look to the left and write the opposite. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if you do not stand for women being abused, what do you stand for? You stand for independence, strength in women. You stand for their equality. You stand for them having the right words or them having a voice. Right?
Okay.
So that's what we're doing here. You're looking at the negative and then you're bringing in the positive. Now, why do we do it this way? Because our brain, the way our brain works is a lot like a computer. If we give our brain a problem, our brain will find a solution for it. Now, it's for me to say, here's a white piece of paper, write down all the things you stand for, you wouldn't be able to do that. Now, the homework assignment is not done yet. What you want to do is after you do, say, 10 things you don't stand for and the 10 things you do stand for, is you want to find the commonalities. Because out of everything that you have on that piece of paper, whether it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, you will see that there is a commonality, that there is a theme there, an underlying value there, that you can really drill down to maybe 2 or 3 words.
Okay.
When you find those 2 and 3 words, you've literally found what you believe, where you stand in the world, and what makes you different out of 8 billion people. Now you have a place to start to go start a business.
There you go.
Now you have a place to start to raise a better family. Now you have a place to start to become a better employee.
And you'll be aligned with whatever the outcome is.
Right.
All right. Now I got to ask you the next question, which is where can people find you?
Sure. They can go to wewin360.com. That's WEWIN 360, the numbers.com. They can go there. They can actually submit for a complimentary 15-minute call with me. And I'll talk about whatever they'd like to talk about, whether it's business or personal, transformation, etc., becoming a social good business, or just becoming a socially good person. They can also find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn at Siloh Moses. That's SILOH MOSES. You could try adding me on Facebook, but I think I'm at the max now with friends. I think I'm at like 5,000 people so far. So your best bet is to just, connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with me via WeWin360.com website.
That is super cool. Siloh, I appreciate you taking the time and getting into sort of the how does the business work questions. I hope people reach out through WeWin360.com, and all the best to you, man. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And it's such an honor to be on the show. Thank you.
Thanks, Siloh. All right, that's all the time we've got. Thanks as always for tuning in. Siloh, I appreciate you calling from Nevada. Next time you're in Pittsburgh, you got to come visit us out here at the Epicast Studios. Everybody else, next week there's going to be another one of these. I hope you tune in for it. Don't forget, subscribers get this first. So if you subscribe right now, you know that next Wednesday, the show will be waiting for you on your phone when you wake up on Wednesday morning. Catch you then.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.